Super next straw hat. Franky. Okay. So I don't know. Franky, let's just get into it. First bounty, 44 million after Endy's Lobby. We did not see him before Endy's Lobby, which means that we don't really have a way to power scale him relatively to the other characters. But since the CP9 have their Doriki or their power levels, then we are able to see like where he matches up against them. And he fought Fukuro, who has like one of the lower ones, but he's in pretty much like a group with Bluno and Kumadori, who all have like relatively the same power level. Fukuro has 800, and then Kumadori has 810. Bluno has 820, so they're all pretty close together. But either way, Franky defeats Fukuro. Second of all, Franky's been a general nuisance for a lot of years on Water 7, so of course he could get a bounty for that. All the stuff he's been doing, including walking around in Speedo and even running through the town naked. But we also know, of course, that Franky has the blueprints to Pluton, which is kind of important, and it's just kind of in his brain. I feel like if Franky had the physical prints, he still wouldn't get a bounty, but he could have gotten a higher bounty. And of course, that's going to be more important later and could help to determine his final bounty in the future. So now let's talk about his next bounty, which is 94 million. And of course, Franky was upset because he gets a bounty that's lower than 100 million. His first one's 44, add 50, 90 million. And even though Franky got a proper fight, he didn't get a proper bounty increase, which is interesting. But actually makes sense because Senior Pink only had a bounty of 58 million berries. Franky earning that bounty makes sense. Even if he did have a proper fight, it makes sense that he would get a bounty that high. Because of the opponent that he was fighting. So it's actually a pretty good increase for him because he got like 34 million berries more than his opponent, or 36 million. But then his next bounty, going to Wano now, is kind of interesting because we don't know any of the Tobiropo's current bounties at all. But I feel like it's safe to say with the worst generation that they usually fall into the 300 million range post time skip. And I feel like that's where Drake would end up. So maybe his bounty is 322 million now. So thinking about Sasaki, I feel like Sasaki and Who's Who are probably the ones with the highest bounties and probably the strongest members, because they're the ones that are kind of like veering for that position of All-Star or like one of the calamities. So I feel like they would have like maybe the highest bounties, or maybe not even like the most powerful, but I feel like they might have been doing more when they were pirate captains or even when they were part of Kaido's crew. So thinking about them, I feel like it's easier for us to get like a basis when you look at Drake, whose bounty is probably in the 300 million range. And I said that Black Maria's would probably be closer to 400 million, if not higher. But Sasaki and Who's Who could be in the 500 million range or above. But let's just say that Sasaki's bounty is like an even like 500 or like 550. Let's go with 550. Then we could totally just add like 500 onto Franky's bounty. So that would be like 594 million. And then he's always like close to like the number, but not quite there. So that would make sense. I feel like Franky could get big bounty increases because he always has like big fights with like big brawlers and stuff, but he never really gets recognized for it. I feel like that would make sense. If not, Franky's bounty being like a little lower, like maybe 394 million, but I feel like it would make sense for Franky's to be high because Franky's like a really durable and like really powerful part of the crew. He always comes to clutch. Franky's always there. But now let's think about post Wano, because Franky doesn't really have any like set up fight specifically, but I feel like he could fight Jesus Burgess, and we do know Burgess's bounty. which is actually just 20 million. Never mind. I thought he had like a 500 million berry bounty, but it seems like he hasn't gotten an update since Skypiea, so that's gonna be a little more difficult. But I feel like Burgess seems like he's pretty out there. Like he goes and does stuff. Like we saw him during Dressrosa, and he was like planning to get the Mera no Mi, and people with the Mera no Mi, like Ace and Sapo, as we've seen, had 550 million and over 600 million. So yeah, but I feel like Burgess, he can probably match that strength, if not like higher by the end of the series, since the Blackbeard Pirates will most likely be their final opponents. And if he's gonna fight Franky, because I think that they will, because they're both like brawler types, I feel like Burgess could get a high bounty. I feel like I see him in like the 800 million range. I'm not really sure why, but that would make sense, like matching maybe like a sweet commander-ish, and that would just make sense to me. So then we add that onto Franky's final, so that would be like 894 million or something, which makes sense for Franky. It's not like a true billion. I don't feel like Franky's gonna get all the way to a billion, but I feel like he's gonna be like kind of close. Maybe Franky even gets to 994 million, and then he gets like really close to 1,000, then gets mad. I feel like that would make sense for Franky. This one's gonna be kind of a shorter one. I didn't really have much to say because I don't know, Franky doesn't really have many like setup things to do with in the story, but he always comes in clutch, so we never know what's gonna happen. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think about Franky. Franky's kind of an interesting one. Please let me know your thoughts. Yeah, bye.